Okay, I want to take you back to the 1990s when the internet made that dial-up screech, when your dad's desktop computer was a beige monolith that took 4 minutes to open a Word document, and when, if you were a kid like me who was just vaguely aware that computers existed on some kind of power scale, you knew one name sat at the very top: Cray. What's happening, Panda Nation? Peter Von Panda. Today I want to talk about Cray Supercomputers because you were probably aware of them, but you didn't necessarily know what a Cray did exactly. You didn't know the specs, you didn't know who built it or how, you just knew that's the big one. That's the one normal people don't have. That's the computer equivalent of Zeus, sitting up on Mount Olympus while the rest of us are down here on Earth with our AOL disk and our 14.4K modems. Now, I remember driving past the building one day, just some office park in some town, I don't even remember where, and seeing a Cray sign out front and thinking, man, who works there? What is that like? It felt like passing the Batcave, like someone in there is doing things that the rest of us out here weren't cleared to know about. And I wasn't alone in that feeling. Cray was so mythologized in the 1990s that it showed up in pop culture everywhere. In Jurassic Park, the novel, not the movie, Michael Crichton wrote that the park's DNA sequencing lab was powered by 4 Cray XMP supercomputers. 4 for the dinosaurs. Makes sense. In the 1993 film, Cray computers were visible in the background of Jurassic Park's DNA sequencing lab. A Cray YMP even made a cameo in Sneakers, the 1992 thriller with Robert Redford and Ben Kingsley that I absolutely loved. In the film, the two leads actually sit on a YMP while discussing how to change the world. That's how iconic these machines were. They were furniture for movie villains and geniuses. And my buddy, he got Cray stickers, actual Cray branded stickers, and slapped them on his computer, his normal computer, which in the early 1990s was the equivalent of putting a Ferrari badge on a Honda Civic. Aspirational, delusional, totally fetch. So today, I'm going to answer some questions. How powerful were these things really? What happened to Cray? And here's the one thing I think that's going to hit you like a freight train. How does a 1990s Cray supercomputer compared to the computing power that we use every day? So, get ready. This one is going to mess with your head a little bit. First, let's talk about the guy who made this whole thing possible, because Seymour Cray deserves his own Netflix series, and the fact that he doesn't have one is probably a crime to computing history. The history of supercomputing goes back to the 1960s, when a series of computers at the Control Data Corporation were designed by Seymour Cray using innovative designs and parallelism to achieve superior computational performance. The man was obsessed, laser focused on one goal: build the fastest computer in the world. Not one of the fastest every time. The Cray 1 was the world's fastest supercomputer from 1976 to 1982. It measured 8.5 feet wide by 6.5 feet tall and contained 60 miles of wire. In one machine, I can barely manage the cables behind my TV, and this man hand-engineered 60 miles of wire into a cylinder the size of a phone booth. Show some respect to the man. That cylinder shape, by the way, wasn't for aesthetics, though it did look absolutely crazy incredible, like something out of a sci-fi movie. It was an engineering choice. The shorter wire means a faster signal. Cray made the whole machine cylindrical to minimize the distance electricity had to travel. The man thought of everything. The company originally expected to sell perhaps a dozen of these machines, but ultimately over 80 Cray 1s were sold, priced from $5 to $8 million each. $5 to $8 million per machine in the 1970s and 80s, and they sold 80 of them. So when I drove past that Cray office building and thought, that seems cool, yeah, that was an $8 million per unit operation, and I was not on the guest list. All right, now here's where we get into the numbers, and I promise I'm going to make these relatable because raw specs are boring until you compare them to something you actually know. Computers measure processing power in something called flops, floating point operations per second. The more flops, the more the machine can calculate, simulate, and process all at once. The original Cray 1 was capable of 160 million operations per second, 160 megaflops. It was succeeded in 1982 by the 800 megaflop Cray XMP, then the Cray 2 in 1985, and the Cray YMP in 1988, all following the same core concepts, but with dramatically improved performance. The Cray 2, which is the iconic one, the one that most looked like a teleportation device, the one that the kids of the 90s like me were most familiar with, peaked at 1.9 gigaflops. It was the fastest machine in the world when released. The Cray 2 earned the nickname Bubbles. It was the first ever to use liquid immersion cooling. The system's circuitry would run so hot that the cooling liquid would actually boil. So Seymour Cray put it on full display, making the boiling liquid viewable through glass panels. It consumed between 150 and 200 kilowatts of power. For reference, that's roughly what it takes to power 150 average American homes, just to run one computer. By the mid-1990s, they pushed further. The Cray T90 series, the top of the line in the late 1990s, provided up to 60 gigaflops of performance with up to 32 processors, and was in fact the world's first wireless supercomputer, replacing all internal wiring with special connectors. Then came ASCII Red in 1997. ASCII Red was the first computer to break the 1 teraflop barrier on the Link Pack benchmark. Later upgrades pushed it past 2 teraflops. It occupied over 1,500 square feet and required about 850 kilowatts of power. It was considered a monumental achievement in computational physics. 1,500 square feet. That is a nice-sized apartment or modestly sized home, filled entirely with a computer, requiring 850 kilowatts of power to run. And this was the pinnacle of what human beings had ever built, the apex, the absolute zenith of computing capability. Are you ready for the comparison? I want you to reach into your pocket and look at the phone sitting right next to you. That thing, that rectangle, that little glass slab that you use to watch TikToks and ignore emails, a modern smartphone, something like an iPhone 15 Pro with an Apple A17 chip or a flagship Android device, can achieve performance levels of around 2 teraflops. In raw terms, that makes your smartphone roughly 1,000 times faster than the Cray 2. 1,000 times faster, and it fits in your pocket and costs about $1,000. And the Cray 2 cost $16 million in today's money and needed a dedicated room with its own liquid cooling system. It gets worse or better depending on how you look at it. An iPhone 16 Pro Max has the computing power equivalent to ASCII Red, which was the fastest supercomputer in the entire world in 1999. Think about what ASCII Red was used for. It was a US government machine, part of the Accelerated Strategic Computing Initiative, used to model and simulate nuclear stockpile reliability without live detonations. It was used to model physics at the atomic level, filled an entire building. It had its own dedicated power infrastructure. And the iPhone in your pocket does that while running Instagram, while also giving you turn-by-turn directions, while also playing music simultaneously. Here's another one that broke my brain. The iPhone's A14 chip, a chip from a few years ago, has the combined computing power of all 500 of the world's top supercomputers combined from 1997. Not one supercomputer from 1997, all 500 combined. The entire planet's supercomputing power in 1997 is sitting in your hand. And if we go back further, in 2012, researchers showed that an iPad 2 matched the historical performance of the Cray 2 on a standard benchmark, the iPad 2, which by 2012 was already considered old and slow by consumer standards. It matched the fastest machine humanity had ever built in 1985. The A13 processor in the 2019 iPhone 11 performs at 154.9 gigaflops, a level that supercomputers didn't even reach until 1994. So let that sink in. The phone Apple was selling in 2019, which by then was already a previous generation model, was faster than every supercomputer on Earth in 1993, including everything. Now here's something worth appreciating. Raw flops comparisons tell part of the story, but it's worth knowing what these machines were actually doing because they weren't playing Candy Crush. Crays were used for nuclear weapon simulation, for modeling behavior of fluids and atmospheres, for weather forecasting, for code breaking by the NSA, for astrophysics research at places like Los Alamos, Lawrence Livermore, and Sandia National Laboratories. A Cray XMP system was used to generate images for The Last Starfighter, one of the first films to use computer-generated imagery. Groundbreaking for 1984. Today, your phone renders better graphics than that in real time just running maps. Today, Cray Supercomputers power over 80% of the world's global weather centers, perform a vital upstream exploration in the energy industry, design and test cars from Formula One racers to family sedans, and they help research centers around the world achieve scientific breakthroughs. The vector processing architecture of the Cray machines was genuinely specialized. It wasn't just raw speed, it was the right kind of speed for scientific calculations. These machines were optimized for exactly the kinds of math that nuclear physicists and atmospheric scientists needed to do. So, while your iPhone technically beats a Cray 2 in flops, the Cray 2 was engineered for very specific tasks and in certain corner cases, it was brilliant at them. But still, 1,000 times slower than the phone in your pocket. That's the reality. Okay, so you're probably wondering now, whatever happened to Cray? Did they just fade away? Well, sort of, and that's a fascinating story. Cray designs dominated the supercomputing market until the early 1990s, when a supercomputer market crash occurred. This was caused by decreased demand after the Cold War, technological advances that allowed smaller computers to approach supercomputer speeds, and ultimately the death of Seymour Cray himself in a car accident in 1996. The man who built the God machine died before he could finish his final project. That's a genuinely sad footnote to an incredible story. The company went through a series of corporate shuffles after being acquired by Silicon Graphics in 1996. The modern company was formed after being purchased in 2000 by Terra Computer Company, which adopted the name Cray Inc. They kept building supercomputers, they kept winning contracts, they kept pushing the frontier, but the brand never regained its pop culture and mythological status from the 80s and 90s. And then, in 2019, the final chapter. On September 25th, 2019, Hewlett-Packard Enterprise acquired the company for $1.3 billion, strengthening its position in high-performance computing and artificial intelligence markets. So, Cray still exists, just under the HPE umbrella now. The most recent Cray supercomputer, the HPE Cray EX, is capable of performing up to 415 quadrillion operations per second. 415 quadrillion. The original Cray 1 did 160 million. That's an improvement factor of roughly 2.6 billion in about 45 years. So what's the point of all this? Why does any of this matter? Because I think we've completely lost our sense of scale when it comes to tech. We complain when our phones take 2 seconds to load a page. We're frustrated that a video renders in a minute instead of 30 seconds. We take for granted this device that would have made the world's leading computer scientists in 1990 drop to their knees in disbelief. The machine that governments spent tens of millions of dollars on, the machine that required dedicated facilities and specialized engineers and liquid cooling and 850 kilowatts of power, the machine that the 90s kid version of me would have driven past and thought, man, what happens inside there? It's in your pocket, outmatched by a phone. Seymour Cray poured his life into building the fastest, most powerful computational machines humanity had ever seen. And he succeeded multiple times. And then the world just kept going faster and faster until his masterpiece became the baseline that everything else surpassed. That is either the most humbling thing you've ever heard or the most inspiring, probably both. The sticker my buddy slapped on his computer, turns out he was onto something. We're all running on Cray power now. We just don't need the sticker to prove it.